Controversy has erupted within the German government about whether refugees from Syria can be expected to return to their home country now that the civil war there has ended. Deutsche Welle correspondent Hans Brandt joins us now from Berlin. Hans, welcome. So the German foreign minister was in Syria recently.
Yes, indeed, he was for discussions with the government there about how to set up the return of Syrian refugees from Germany. And what then happened is that Johannes Wadefuhl, the foreign minister, went to see one of the suburbs of Damascus, the capital of Syria, that had been particularly affected by the war. And he was shocked by the extent of the destruction there and said that from his point of view, nobody really could be expected to return to such a suburb, that it was not possible for people to live in such destruction. That in turn caused a controversy within his governing Conservative Party, the Christian Democrats here in Germany, who said that he was undermining their position of being hard on migration, on making sure that any migrant who was in Germany for just a day too long, as it were, would have to be sent back to his home country. The Conservatives are very much under pressure from the right-wing populists here in Germany, who've made migration their central issue. So they feel that the foreign minister has undermined their strength on this issue, and in fact there are people within the party that are calling for his resignation.
And so there are those who believe that the situation isn't complicated and that because the war has ended, the refugees should go home.
Yes, indeed, that is in fact the situation as it is, but it ends up being a little bit more complicated than that. Syria itself is not necessarily prepared to take in hundreds of thousands of people. That's what these government discussions are about at the moment. Who pays for their return? Will they be able to find a place to live, a place to work? Will the government there be able to basically finance that situation? And here in Germany too, some of the refugees are saying, well, you know, we would like to go and have a look and see whether we can find jobs there, whether we can find accommodation there. But that's not possible. That's not allowed by the German laws. Once they are back in their country, they cannot come back to Germany. And at the same time, there is this discussion on a government level, and there are these issues of domestic policy here in Germany. So it's pretty much more complicated than simply saying the war is over and people have to go back.
And so many refugees from Syria have been in Germany for around 10 years. To what extent have they been welcomed as part of German society?
Well, what happened 10 years ago was the Prime Minister at the time, Angela Merkel, basically opened Germany to refugees from Syria, and hundreds of thousands, almost 1 million, are in Germany now. Many of them, in fact, are now Germans, so they cannot be sent back, and many of them play an important role in German society. For instance, there are thousands of Syrian doctors working in German hospitals, and Germany doesn't have enough doctors of its own. It really needs doctors from foreign countries to help in this situation. So simply sending everybody who is from Syria back to Syria is not really an option, even for German society. It's a very complicated and it's a very politically charged issue. But in the end, I think some sort of compromise will have to be found, and humanitarian issues, such as the question of whether or not people can actually live in Syria, will have to play a role in the end.
Okay, Hans Brandt there in Berlin. The former US Vice President Dick Cheney has died. He was 84. He served 8 years under President George W. Bush and was often called the most powerful vice president in the country's history.